and welcome to the Friday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, United States of America to say attack aircraft to Nigeria. Police dismiss 4 sergeants over thefts of Jonathan's belonging. And later on the program, Governor Nasiru El-Rufai criticizes First Republic leaders, says they promoted division. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Tunde Abaton, and Wale Adeoye. So if you are ready, let the hangout start now. I say after years and years of going to a guerrilla warfare without the right weapons, Nigerians troops have shown courage, strength, and patriotism. This is worthy of commendation. Many of our soldiers have perished in the ongoing onslaught in the northeast against Boko Haram, and the civilian casualties are too heartbreaking to mention. More than 2 million persons have been displaced, and despite the military media campaign declaring premature victory, the enemy seems unrelenting. The military has raised alarm that it lacked modern weaponry to prosecute the war, but the United States of America had always turned down interest to buy. The US is worried about an alleged rights abuse by Nigerian security forces. Today, the story is about to change. Reports say there are indications that the US may soon be selling 12 attack planes to the Nigerian authorities. This hardware could enhance Nigeria's firepower against the enemy and end the war. Isn't this a kind of heartwarming news, Babajide?
Yeah.
When we were talking about the Nigerian Air Force carrying out raids and bombing 108 times in the last 3 months or so, few weeks or so, and we know that they needed more sophisticated airplanes to carry out effective bombing, because what they want to sell to us, I've forgotten the name of that.
A29 to Kano. To Kano.
So what's going to be the impacts of this? Can this change the dynamics?
It will certainly help, because the Alpha jets that we are using at this time, you know, they've already been decommissioned, but somehow we are delivering the goods with the Alpha jets. I would have preferred something a lot better. I would have preferred ground attack helicopters, maybe like an Apache.
Ground attack?
Yes, it's called a ground attack helicopter, and it's a multi-dimensional, multifunctional airplane. You see, since 1984, when the Apache was first delivered to the US Army, there has not been any ground attack helicopter as good as the Apache. So many countries have asked for the Apache. Yes, it costs about $35 million for one, and it has twin engines. Each of those engines costs $725,000. But the Apache did an excellent job during the Gulf War, and every country that has the means will ask for an Apache built by the best airplane makers in the world, Boeing. So that is the sort of airplane that I want to see. If we have 2 Apaches,
So this is the kind they want to sell to us now?
If we have 2 Apaches, the impact will be phenomenal.
2 Apache?
Yes, because it delivers more than 600 rounds a minute.
600 rounds?
Yes.
A minute?
A minute. And it can engage the enemy, from more than 100 kilometers. I've said this on this program before, that you can actually, the enemy can be in Ibadan. Yes, which means that our armed forces can actually be protected, because you don't need to fly low. Low altitude bombing sometimes can cause your plane to be brought down.
So, by anti-aircrafts.
But if you can engage the enemy from very far, they won't even see you. And you are there killing them, and it has thick armor. So the TCAMO ensures that it is not easy to bring down an Apache. It's built in a very ugly manner, but it's a fantastic machine. Fantastic machine. Any day, if I'm the president of Nigeria, whatever it takes, I will supply the Nigerian Air Force with an Apache AH-64.
Why are they giving us a particular specification? If you want to sell equipment to us, can't we go to their shelf and say, this is what we want?
No. No, it is what we ask for at this time.
Okay.
That I'm sure, because you have to negotiate. They are not going to say, okay, this is what we want to give you. You negotiate, this is what you want. And then they start the process of building the equipment. It's not like they are parked somewhere.
Just go and buy it on the shelf.
It may take a long while before they even deliver this one.
Manufacture it, they start.
Except if we had a preliminary arrangement with them and they have been working on this. For example, the Indians asked for some Apaches and some F-16s, the fantastic US fighter bomber, and it took 4 years for them to be delivered. So that's why when we wanted to really deal with Boko Haram at some point during Jonathan's regime, it was not easy to get weapons. Weapons are not what you buy like candy. You have to request for it. They will now go and build it for you. It's just like if Boeing comes out with a new airplane now, maybe they have 777, they have 787. If they say, okay, we are doing Boeing 900, the airlines that desire the aircraft will have to pay and then expect, they will tell them this is the time that it will be delivered. That is the way it is. So in that terrain, in that treacherous terrain, like the Northeast, honestly, it is an Apache that we need. For me, a ground attack helicopter that can deliver maximum firepower, that is what we need. And what they are giving us, yes, it is similar to in terms of the build, it's similar to the...
This is a visual of what they're giving us.
You can see that it's very similar to
what we have.
Yes, although it's a bit bigger than our...
the one that you said has been...
What's it called? The Alpha Jets. Nobody still uses this Alpha Jet. Alpha Jets were decommissioned more than 20 years ago. That's what we still use because the spares are not available. The very capable chief of air staff that we have has gotten his people to even manufacture spares on their own so that we can maintain an edge. It's the Air Force that is really helping us in this war because even the soldiers always expect the Air Force to come and soften up the enemy before they take the infantry.
Yes. Tunde, don't you think the United States, they are being hypocritical with their relationship with us? In one breath, you are saying, you are categorizing Boko Haram as one of the deadliest terrorist group in the world. In another breath, you continue to say our military, they've been violating human rights and there's a lay law and you cannot sell equipment to us and you will always receive our president and our president will always make this request and you'll be holding back. What's happening?
I think there's one thing that we have to get clear in American relations with other countries. There's something that is constant. The foreign interest of the United States of America, irrespective of whether it is the Democrat or the Republican that is in power. And you also have to know that the US have taken it upon itself to regard itself as the moral authority of the world. When they want to be hypocritical, it is right in their own way. If they want to sell ammunition to you,
rebel forces in Syria,
they will sell to them at that time. And we also have to know that depending on the attitude of the president in power, Obama never wanted at any point in time, he never had any respect for the Nigerian government that was there then. And for this one that just came in, you have to cultivate yourself, you have to show sincerity. Because in getting armament, I mean, let me let you know that at the same time, there's also the fear on the part of America that Nigeria may also use it as an internal weapon for political reasons. And they also want to know that Nigeria will not be too strong as a force in West African sub-region. So these are part of the international politics that is involved in selling weapons to another country that is seen to be very strong. But by and large, I think what we really need to do is that Nigeria really need to actually look at our foreign relations, our foreign policy. There has to be consistency of action. You shouldn't allow external factors in all the time to determine our response to the international environment. When you allow external factors to determine it, then external factors will also determine what you get, the kind of power you get to put your house in order. I think by the decision of the American government to set this thing for us at this particular point in time is welcome. But then you also have to know that I believe that it is no weapon that we needed to win this war. Nigeria has to spend more money on gathering, intelligence gathering. Intelligence is very, very crucial to this kind of war. And besides intelligence, I don't know why it has taken us so far. If we have spent probably $2 billion on prosecuting this war, we have not been able to get to know who are the sponsors of Boko Haram. Because if the sponsors, yes, 3 months ago, it appears we have defeated them. Suddenly, so we have to get to the sponsors.
Mr. Adeoye, there seems to be, they are saying that this is subject to congressional approval. Yeah. That's what President Trump, the executive, have just said, that is going to pass through approval from the U.S. Congress. And I'm putting the same question to you, that in terms of, you know, forthrightness in our international relationship, do you think the United States has been, you know, very, very direct with us?
Well, there's no doubt that Nigeria is a very significant country in the West African sub-region, and in fact, in the world. So I think the New Deal shows an improved relationship between Nigeria and the United States. You remember that the Nigerian government has been trying to buy armament from the US since 2015. And I think in February this year, President Trump spoke with the Nigerian president. So I think, in a way, it's a plus in terms of international diplomacy. You know, it's a plus for Nigerians' image. But then, if you look at other factors, you know, the A-29 Super Takuna, if you look at the nature of that attack aircraft, it's used for surveillance. It's also good for precision attack, especially if pilots want to identify targets in the night. But as to whether, and of course, it's a Brazilian product. The company is originally Brazilian, though they have an office in there, which also raises the question about the future of indigenous armament procurement industry in Nigeria, because the one in Brazil and that in Nigeria were established virtually the same year. The Defense Industry Corporation in Kaduna. And now we are getting this from Brazil, though through the United States. Now, as to whether this will create a significant paradigm shift in the military campaign is a different thing entirely. Because one thing is for you to win the war, it's another thing for you to win the peace. The Nigerian government has said that we have made significant progress. If we have actually made progress, we should be talking about demilitarization. You know, people, the soldiers withdrawing, not buying new equipment. But for the fact that we are spending another $600 million US dollars, it means that the war is not over. You know, in fact, it means there is a kind of paradigm shift in the game plan. And I think that we should also realize that this is Boko Haram. They are Nigerians. When you are fighting a guerrilla warfare, it's not a concentrated army. It's a nuclear pockets of military bandits. And, you know, they're also mobile. So it's not something you can win automatically, you know, through Air Force attack. Guerrilla warfare, they are dressed in, you know, civilian uniform. There's no way you can identify them. You know, they are a part and parcel of the community that you are trying to attack. And that's why in most instances, we have had civilian casualties. So the government needs to depend much on community intelligence. They need to win the heart of those communities. As we have it now, you discover that the communities are not cooperating. You can't give it 100% cooperation because they have also suffered casualties. Over 8,000 people, suspected people, are being killed. You know, they just round them up and then they shoot many of them. So you have to win the hearts of the people, and then you also have to wage ideological war, because you know, Islamic extremism is about indoctrination. It's about ideology. And when people are propelled by this kind of ideology, it's a very difficult to win. So apart from the military campaign, the government must design a counter-ideological insurgents to de-radicalize the Northeast, to educate them, you know, to create a new version of Islam that will tell them about the essence, you know, the content of Islam that will change their own orientation. So I think that is a war that the government needs to spend a lot of money on, not just winning the military war, but also winning the hearts of the people.
Mr. Jide, now, what is the interest of the United States in this? Why is Trump so desperate to sell these equipments?
You see, every time the Republicans come to power, the defense spendings go up. Defense contractors make more money. What Trump is trying to do is to create more jobs domestically so that the people will be happy with him. And of course, the people that they always patronize are Republican defense contractors. So there's no Republican government that comes in that you won't see an escalation in defense spending. It will naturally go up. Usually there are weapons that are there that they will even want to test. Remember when Manuel Noriega misbehaved to the Americans in 1989, December 22, 1989. At that time, there was an aircraft that the Americans were yet to use. The radar evading F-117 stealth bomber. They call it stealth bomber because
it's invisible.
Your radar will not detect it. So it's used to soften up air defenses of the opponent. So once it has softened up the air defenses of the opponent, then the big planes will now come in. All those ones that drop big bombs, 2,000-pound bombs. Bombs that will drop it on the story building and it will sink it as if it's an earthquake that has happened. They used quite a number of them in Iraq. Saddam gave America opportunity to test weapons on his people. You know, so in December 1989, they used the F-117A stealth bomber for the first time. That was under a Republican administration. So you have, he has already said he will give support to all states that need support to defeat ISIS. Of course, you know that Boko Haram, the Mama Noor faction, otherwise known as the Mossab al-Banawi faction, is already affiliated to ISIS. The other faction led by Shekau is not the ISIS people made up their minds that look, Shekau, we do not recognize you. We recognize al-Mossab al-Banawi, the first son of the late Yusuf that was killed, just about 24, 25 years, a small boy. But the man who leads the group, the real leader of the group, is the man called Mama Noor. So most people still call that faction of Boko Haram Mama Noor faction. That is the faction that kidnapped those two lecturers and their driver. Those three guys that they showed. And that is the faction that has inflicted consistent damage on the Nigerian army in recent months. Since August last year, when ISIS proclaimed him as the new leader of Boko Haram, Mama Noor's faction has taken the battle to the Nigerian army. So Trump wants to create jobs in America, those who will be making planes, fighter planes and the rest of them. So that's one. And then he made a pledge to our president when he called him in February that, look, I'm going to sell weapons to you, I'm going to support. So how he manages to get that through with Congress is I don't know how he intends to do that. But if he lobbies so well, maybe somehow, due to overriding need, Nigeria may be allowed to have those weapons. I hope that after 30 days, the U.S. Congress will not stop us. One of the reasons we are finding it difficult to defeat these guys is because at the point when we needed to inflict damage on them before they became so big, the Americans refused to sell weapons. They not only refused to sell weapons, they also blocked us from buying weapons from some of their own allies. We wanted to buy weapons from Brazilians, they refused. The Chinook helicopters that they sold to Israel, we wanted to buy Chinook helicopters because it can function both as a transport plane and as a ground attack aircraft. They didn't allow us to buy the Chinook helicopters. So at the end of the day, we had to go to the black market. We had to go and get the T-72 Russian tanks from the Ukrainians.
All right, Abaton, is it that it's only the United States we can look up to get weapons? Can we just do some other power blocks?
Well, I think
that might be counterproductive.
In war, when you are at the receiving end, you also have to determine the strength of the person attacking you. The strength of the Boko Haram as it is today, they got most of their weapons from the Western world. And they got their backing from that particular place. So it is better
they stole from most of them from
Nigeria. Even from Nigeria. So it is even better that you are better prepared than them. You don't play their game and you spend more on getting sophisticated weapons to counter them. Because what we are doing is counter-terrorism. We are not the terrorists, but we are countering them. So to do counter-terrorism, you need the best of weapons. And you need to source it from the best place. And you also know the politics of weapons. The other time we went to buy from Brazil, America stopped it. And they prefer to sell till tomorrow.
Remember
they will sell to Israel.
$10 million.
No matter what happens, they will keep on selling to Israel.
Yes.
No matter what happens within the Middle East, let Saudi Arabia has $500 billion worth of investment in America. America will still sell weapons.
Israel has a very strong congressional lobby. They always succeed.
There are many Jews in the American parliament.
In fact, there are many Jews, even Jew billionaires in Russia that you can ever think of. So they are all over the place. So I think we just need to have consistency in our foreign affairs and have more visionary leaders to preempt a lot of things that we do. Because now we are spending more money in counter-terrorism than education.
Even the cost of weapon, what's it called? Fuel alone.
Fuel alone.
To fuel our planes.
Yes.
Every month we are spending more than 200 million.
Because Wale, I wanted to ask you that, can we afford these expenses? We have the impression that the Nigerian government is broke. Are we going to borrow to buy?
What? I think Nigeria has a lot of money. And what is wrong with our government is priority. Because $600 million is not one of, one cost between $9 to $14 million. That is a lot of money. So it shows that if the Nigerian government really wants to invest in a particular thing that is very critical to its own interest, the money will always, the government will always get the money. But like we've been saying, when you have a military strategy, you need to also define economic strategy, economic and political solution. Because ultimately, you have to attack the root cause of terrorism, one of which is poverty, politics of exclusion. A lot of younger people feel excluded from the political economy today. And if you don't address that, we are going to have a lot of millions of hungry people who are vulnerable, who can easily be used by anybody, 2,000 naira to go and bomb another, and they will do it.
Even the army confirmed that Boko Haram has been giving loans to people in Madagali area.
It might be non-interest loan.
You just give them, when you are unable to pay back, they will now conscript you. You come and fight for them.
What's your government?
It looked like a mere rumor. When in January last year, someone told me in Yola that, look, these guys give loans to our people to lure them to come and fight for them. I thought it was a rumor. On this program, I said it as soon as I returned. But the army confirmed it like 3 months later, that indeed, these guys are offering loans to young people to just to solve their problems temporarily. Then when they are unable to pay back, they will just come.
Which is more likely.
They will just come and whisk them away to go and fight.
Mustafa is calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Musi. Hello, Mustafa. Good evening. Are you there? All right, I think so. Judy, I wanted to ask. We just got some T-72 tanks. What will be the impact of this tank on the warfare?
No, it is the T-72 Russian tank is extremely useful. If you see the tank, it's even the size of it. Because sometimes you see our soldiers driving a T-72. In Maiduguri. If you see this Russian tank, you'll be amazed at the sheer size, and it can deliver from like 2,000 meters away. So it can actually shell a target from like 2,000 meters. And it's very difficult for for most anti-tank equipment to damage it. Most times, a shot from a fellow from another T-72 tank is what demobilizes the Russian T-72 tank. It was also used extensively during the Gulf War because that was the main battle tank that Saddam had. The Americans had to rely on their own M1A1 Abrams. I think they now have M1A2 Abrams now, you know, which is a lot faster. But the armor of the T-72 Russian tank, you can't compare it to that of the M1 Abrams. So it's a thing of pride to me. It's a thing of pride to me that Nigeria has the T-72 Russian tank, and I'm extremely grateful to Goodluck Jonathan that he found a way to give us that main battle tank. The thing is not the best in the world, but for our terrain and the kind of enemy that we are fighting, it is extremely useful. The late Lieutenant Colonel Abu Ali, that was his favorite tank, and he did so well with it.
Wrecked enough havoc.
His own dad, Abu Ali's dad, was a soldier, and he was in the armored corps. So his dad probably taught him a few things about driving an armored tank, because his dexterity at using the T-72 Russian tank really made the difference for Nigeria.
Let me quickly take Karim. Karim is calling us from Abuja.
Hello?
Yes, Karim. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How is everything?
Very well, thank you, Karim.
I'm a really fan of Babajide.
Oh, that's nice.
He said he's no longer in Kogi State. I'm bringing him back to Kogi State anyway.
My father has begged me, so I'm going nowhere.
Thank you for all the good job you people are doing.
Thank you. We appreciate you too.
For the fighting of the terrorism, Babajide, you know, it's not really easy. It's just that the international relationship has not been going well with the other leaders outside. That was why, if you look at during the Jonathan, the commitment of our leader with the leader outside was not really cordial, and that have affected the other people at the northeast. So I'm really happy with all the job you people are doing. And
thank you. Thank you.
We appreciate you too.
Thank you, Karim. Keep watching. We appreciate you. So I think we just really have to move on this. But
let's pray that they deliver it.
They deliver it. That's the bottom line, on time. That's very important. Still to come, police dismiss 4 sergeants for stealing former President Goodluck Jonathan's belongings. We'll be right back after this time out. Join us. We're back. Thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout, and we're reaching you live from our headquarters here in Lagos, Nigeria. William Shakespeare famously said he would not put a thief in his mouth because the thief could steal his brains. This is probably the story of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. He did exactly what William Shakespeare said he would dare not to do. The former president asked policemen to guard his house, but they ended up looting his belongings. He did not know that those securing his property were thieves he was trying to keep the property away from. When Premium Times, an online news outlet, exclusively reported the story last month, it made headlines in national dailies. The Nigerian police force reacted to this shameful behavior by dismissing 4 sergeants. It says there are ongoing efforts to arrest the last member of the gang, who is now at large. If police could break into the property of the former presidents, how safe are those ordinary Nigerians like Ayodele Ozubakun and Jide Todi? There's fire on the mountain. Well, let me start from you.
Well, I think what actually surprises me is the audacity of the policemen, because they should know the consequences of their action. If they have stolen the property belonging to ordinary people, then we can understand. But for you to have the courage, that means those policemen must have the infinite capacity to do evil, to commit any crime.
Yes.
If you can go and see the property belonging to the former president of a country,
Just immediate past president.
Yeah, immediate past president. And of course, that also tells you that most of the people that we ask to protect us are actually threats to our own lives. Because this is not the first time. There have been so many cases of, people, who get abused, their property stolen by policemen, they rob them of their private properties and all that. And this one has only made headlines because it happened to former president of Nigeria. So we begin to ask questions about the quality of policemen that we have. Even though we cannot use these few people to demonize the Nigerian police force, but then there have been too many instances that give us the concern
the last 1 month
that
on this
becoming a trend. It's becoming a trend. So I wonder whether people that are recruited to the police for whether we do background checks. Who recommended them? Do we have even profile? Maybe some of them have been condemned criminals that in a way fund their way into the police force. So I think it's a national disgrace. And it's just enough to just dismiss them. We hope that they will be used as, other scapegoats. We want to see to the conclusive how the police will try these people. We want to let the police converse with them, ask them questions in the court. Why did they decide? What gave them that courage to do that? Maybe they are emboldened by the, the atmosphere of crime everywhere in the site, and they feel, look, what is really after all, maybe.
It also means
that I want to ask you directly that maybe this police, I'm just playing the devil's advocate here, they feel that Mr. Goodluck Jonathan has enough properties, he might not be able to take inventory of everything scattered all over the country, that was just a small abandoned property, maybe because he wasn't a regular visitor to that particular house.
Well, I think it's more of that. When you look at the logistics, you discover that if he was a regular visitor, probably every weekend, he has been going there. They won't have the courage
the man might know
to go. But because probably the man has not been there.
Empty the whole apartment.
Maybe he has many other houses within the Abuja metropolis. And that house is because he built that house before he even became the president.
They said when he was the deputy governor.
When he was deputy governor.
So
the house must have been abandoned for a very long time.
Yes.
But having said that, it also means that, I'm very to say, out of every probably 10 policemen, probably only one of them is something that you can leave something with. Naturally, in a decent society, it is the thief that you keep your things with.
Yes.
When you keep it with the thief, you know that if it is missing, it is also the thief
you
that
zero
you
your
are
mind
for.
not the person that is.
But it is also unfortunate, like I said, that it's a psychological warfare when you steal something that belongs to a former president of Nigeria. It means that office has been demystified. So it's a demystification of the office of the president. And all others, including former governors who have houses elsewhere, they should go and check their houses. And it is also a lesson that we should have less of property that we don't need. It's not a justification for stealing it, but people should not be acquiring property all over the place that you don't visit there. Because I know the former president must have had maybe 3 or 2 or 5 properties in Abuja, and it's a residential building. It is not it's not a flat or apartment. So, and also believe that, like the other time, the IG was saying that the amount of money voted for the police is not enough to buy stationery. Yes, it is true. Because when you go to the police station now, you have to drop money to buy foolscap sheet to write a statement. So I think we should do something about our police force, recruitment to the police force, because naturally people are talking about state police. If you are to be recruited from Edo Benin, the compound you are from, they are supposed to know your compound. But now people can, anybody can be a next of kin.
Let me ask Babajide now. The Inspector General of Police was our guest yesterday in Television Continental, and I don't know the feedback you got. I wasn't around, but we know that on this program consistently, and we know they watch us there consistently, we've been on their case in the last 1 month. And looking at this particular incident and the way the Inspector General of Police has reacted, before you say Jack Robinson, this thing happened, sacked 4 of them, and they are even going for people that bought those property. What do you read between the lines?
No, it's a good move. I suggest that the Nigerian police is determined to purge itself of the bad eggs, giving it a bad name. You can see that the FCT Police Command vowed to respond quickly to what had happened. They did just that, and to discover that 3 of the looters were mobile policemen, you always want to think that the mobile policeman is better than the regular version. Yes. You know, to discover that the mobile policemen, 3 of them were mobile policemen, suggests that this is a big institutional rot, you know, bedeviling the Nigerian police. Yeah. But you see, policemen behaving badly is not something that is new in our country. I have actually compiled some cases of policemen behaving badly. On June 4, 2014, 3 policemen were arrested in Aba for stealing ice fish. Ice fish, policeman stealing ice fish. December 9, 2014, 2 police officers were arrested for stealing colleague's car. They stole the car of their own colleague. On April 21, 2016, 2 policemen were arrested for stealing trailer with goods worth 30 million. That's April 21, 2016. March 2, 2017, police sergeant and others arrested for attempting to steal a baby from hospital. They started stealing babies again. January 10, 2017, police dismissed sergeant for stealing and selling firearms to armed robbers. July 24, 2017, 3 policemen were arrested over robbers escaped from custody. Robbers. So when it comes to all kinds of infractions, the Nigerian police is always there. You can, whether it is rape, all kinds of criminal activities, name it, you will find a bad egg from the Nigerian police being involved in that. But I give the IG credit because at least you can see that he's trying to purge the force of undesirable elements. Yes. Yeah. In the last few weeks, you can see that they've been parading policemen, caught extorting money from people and all that. That has to continue. But that in itself won't solve this problem unless we attack the problem from the root. How do people who are not worse than armed robbers get into the police in the first place? The
recruitment system.
So the recruitment system has to be looked at thoroughly. Only the best is fit to be a policeman because only decent people can protect you and I. Armed robbers shouldn't and will not protect us. If we have a police force that is full of armed robbers, then we know that we are finished as a country. We are finished. No remedy. We are finished. We should just give up. Okay, robbers, come and attack us. Because what is the point? So we have to look at it. And then I said some time ago that there should be a national database so that if anyone wants to get into the police or even get into the army, because I know that in the army there are bad eggs as well. Some of them have been kicked out. Some of them even provide information for Boko Haram to kill their colleagues. You know, so we know that there are bad eggs in the army, but today is not their own day. They have
stricter measures.
Today is not their own day. On the day we want to talk about the bad eggs in the army, people will be shocked. So they shouldn't relax and think, oh, it's only police. After all, they are not talking about us. A day will come when we will talk about the bad eggs in the army. So they shouldn't rejoice yet. But the police that we are talking about today, the database will show to everyone those who have a criminal past. The past, you know, so such people we know will will ensure that they don't get into the police.
I remember Ismail Omikwe telling us that a known armed robber,
yes,
in its community,
of course,
actually resurfaced after 2 years in police uniform.
People, a lot of people joined the police is because they couldn't find any other job to do.
Yes, and as long as that is the criterion,
I know a family in which one boy who has a very short fuse, a very bad temper, he wanted to join the police. He had to be sabotaged, because to carry a gun and give that kind of fellow, you can be sure that he will just be wasting people. He gets angry at the slightest opportunity and he wanted to join the police.
Okay, gentlemen, closing home on this now, Wale Adeoye, I don't know, this has been dealt with, and we are at the mercy of these people, and even some policemen that are meant to be orderlies and everything to VIPs, they give information to even people that will come and
rob their bosses.
Yes, I think increasingly the Nigerian people, the confidence in the police,
remember that cliche, police is your friend.
Yeah, it has dwindled over the years, and that's why you see all sorts of people employing non-state actors to take care of their security. If you go to so many homes now, so many estates, communities, people are even prefer to go and hire OPC, bodyguards, So the police as an institution is losing its credibility, and it's not good, for any country, because it's like people are, creating their own means of defense, which I think it should give a lot of concern to the Nigerian state.
Well, I think the other time the IG was talking about the amount of budget released to the police. Apart from the salary, the police could hardly do anything, and that is why you see most of the state government in Nigeria buying vehicles for the police. So you cannot have that kind of police force that has no equipment. You cannot expect the best from them. So I think there should be a general orientation about the attitude of government to the police. And this started immediately after the fall of the Second Republic, when all the ammunition that were given the police force was withdrawn because of what they thought the police was about to be equipped to the same level.
Let me quickly pick this call. Ugochukwu is calling us from Ghana. Thank you for joining us, Ugochukwu. Where are you calling from? Accra? How are you?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
And good evening, Babajide.
Where in Ghana are you calling from?
I'm coming from Accra.
Okay. The capital. Yeah. Akwaba.
It is
That is exactly what everyone in Nigeria, we are crying. You see, Babajide have mentioned about the bad egg in police custody. What happens to good luck, Jonathan? I haven't seen past president that those things have happened on the first time. That is exactly the Trump that is selling aircraft to Nigeria military. Is it not the same people that will use it now against ordinary people, not even the insurgents? And by the way, who created all those things? It's not Babajide. It's not Yoruba. It's not Yoruba. It's not even Igbo. I know this thing happens to be Hausa, and they look at why we are clamoring for it now.
Okay. Thank you, Ugochukwu. Thank you, at least, for calling us all the way from Accra, in Ghana. We have to wrap it up, but moving forward, looking at the former president and that house, it was said to have moved to a permanent site, a more palatial.
Yes. He actually left the place for his mom. And then moved out, and then the mom too moved into Asoro. Then his mom too left the place, so the house was abandoned. But it's no excuse to lose the place, because even in highbrow Maitama and other places, houses are left because the thieves who inhabit Abuja, what they do is they buy houses with stolen funds and use it to tie down
property. Nobody. So those houses are
a lot of them unoccupied. Abuja has by far more unoccupied houses per square kilometer than any city in the world. Just there. Nobody. All they have done, they stole money and then they bought houses with the money that they stole. Proceeds of money laundering and all that. But a lot of those houses, you still see them, they are intact. Nobody has stolen their windows, stolen their cistern and all that, the way they've done to Jonathan. So, but the truth is, the police must be encouraged to continue to purge its rank and file of undesirable elements.
All right. So, in our final analysis, we still have decent policemen. Decent officers. I doff my hat to the likes of Abakari, Owosheni, the retired one, Israel Ajao, Omoben, Owosheni. So we have
even the current leader of the RRS.
Yes,
who went all the way to South Africa to pick a fantastic award.
Decent
pride to the police. And there are many people like that.
There are so many
bad eggs in the police
are the ones that were coming
are the
from
ones that need to leave the force and stop staining the decent people in the police.
All right, Nasiru El-Rufai's video is making waves on social media. The video shows the Kaduna State governor giving hard knocks to First Republic politicians and leaders as the architect of the division and the lack of national cohesion that is almost consuming Nigeria today. None of the three famous First Republic leaders was spared in the governor's generous criticism. He said they did not build a nation, but only built political influence. Let's see this video.
Our founding fathers maintained the regions, maintained the divisions, because it benefited them politically. I know it is not politically correct to say that Ahmadu Bello, Azikiwe, and Awolowo did something wrong, but they did. They did not work hard enough to build a nation. They maintained what they found and benefited politically from it.
He's never afraid of cutting controversy. But gentlemen, when we want to analyze this, we know that Awolowo was just fighting for the growth and betterment of the Western Nigeria. Yeah. While the Zik held on to his southeastern, there was a kind of healthy competition between him and the likes of Ahmadu Bello and everybody they were holding. Maybe that was what he was alluding to. But the quality of leaders we have now, comparing the likes of El-Rufai himself to what those guys did that time, I don't think you can ever.
There is no basis for comparison. The First Republic leaders were much more patriotic, much more inventive, much more creative, much more forward-looking. You know, if you go to the north, where El-Rufai runs Kaduna like an emperor, you will see the telltale signs of an Ahmadu Bello that worked for his people. Today, the politicians that litter the landscape are extremely selfish. They are only after their own personal interests, the interests of their mistresses, the interests of their children. That's why you see an idiot of a politician building different houses for children who will not occupy those houses. I know a politician like that got a huge expanse of land and built houses. He said, this is for my first son, this is for my... Those children will not stay in that house. They are just being stupid. They will get married, they will go and live elsewhere with their wives. Even if they want to live inside that place, their women will not allow them to continue to live under the roof of their parents. So the First Republic politicians, you can't compare leaders, you can't compare to the ones we have today. They say, how do Bako stole so much money? But when you go to Kano, you see the roads, the well-paved roads, the good planning, especially the Nasarawa area of Kano, that Audu Bako did. All the dams that people continue to make money from fishing and all that for in Kano were built by Audu Bako. The secretariat that they still use is Audu Bako secretariat. So these leaders, yes, they were not perfect. But when you compare them to the jokes that we have today, there's no basis for comparison. And if I were in El-Rufai's shoe, by the way, I like the little beard that he has acquired, like the man in Aso Rock, the man with the white beard.
The DSS.
Yes.
The DGDSS.
The DGDSS. So, he's in good company now. Daura is in good company now, given the fact that El-Rufai too appears to have joined him in sporting a white beard. So, if I were El-Rufai, I would not really go to the extent of criticizing those people because they did well for their people. They did well.
They left in legacy.
One thing about El-Rufai is that he thinks that what other people are not fit to say, he must say. Remember when Obasanjo continued to lie through his teeth that he didn't want third term? It took an El-Rufai to write a book to expose how they were planning third term. And El-Rufai happened to be one of Obasanjo's most trusted aides. In fact, El-Rufai famously said during the visit to the news, when I was still editor of the news, that if Obasanjo had to choose between his son Benga and himself, Obasanjo would gladly choose El-Rufai. That's to tell you how close they were. And he was very strong in the administration. So he was the first to come out to say, indeed, Baba wanted third term.
Well, I think we should not dignify El-Rufai by analyzing what he has said, because it contains tissues of lies. Between 1954, when the regions were given self-independence, and 1959, let us go to all the regions. Go to East. You see what Okpara has done. Go to the West. What Awolowo has done in the Western region, nobody has been able to overtake after 60 years now. So it is unfortunate. Same thing, Amadu Bello. It's unfortunate that after 50 years or 57 years, El-Rufai is trying to get the attention of Nigerians, trying to paint the present-day politicians in nice brush, saying that they are better. There's no basis for comparison, because this how come Nigeria is more divided now than it was 57 years ago? Nigeria is much more divided now than then. The only problem we had then was that the MPC made an attempt to take over the Western region, and that was what snapped the political crisis between Awolowo and Akintola, and they took over. So I think El-Rufai should just face the business of governing Kaduna State.
Well, I think El-Rufai, probably if he had consulted with his political aides, they would have advised him not to make that statement. In the first place, it's wrong. He put it in a very wrong historical context. There have been division in Nigeria before the people like Amadu Bello and Awolowo emerged as political leaders. Nigeria came into existence in 1914 without consultation, without debate. So that one on its own, it was a foundation that was expected to bring divisions. But when the British were leaving in 1959, they left 3 regions. So what those founding fathers did was to recognize those differences. And to a large extent, they managed it. Now, even after 57 years, you are still talking about past leaders. The responsibility of leadership is to correct errors of the past, even assuming that those people committed those errors. Yes. It's not to begin to recycle what happened 57 years ago. You should ask yourself, Awolowo spent just about 6 years as premier of Western region. Sardauna spent, less than 10 years. And now you are talking about almost 60 years after. And you cannot overtake them. You have not built any legacy more than I think his statement was a kind of a show of hopelessness. That is helpless, in giving a new inspiration to Nigerians. We want leaders that will recognize the mistakes of the past and will give us the confidence to rebuild the nation.
We will see how they
are really want. Are those leaders responsible for corruption?
You can't even piece together Northern and Southern together. Kaduna, you can't.
Kaduna today is much more divided.
The problem, and it wasn't Sardauna that created that.
That at all.
Division. Kaduna is divided along Christian and
Muslim.
It wasn't Sardauna that created that.
The North was more united when Sardauna was there.
Even the domination of the Nigerian army by the North, it was Sardauna that made it to happen. He went to Barewa University, Rumfa College, to pick the best and enlisted them in the army. After he saw what happened in Iraq, during the military coup in Iraq, where they tied the president to an SUV and they were dragging him around the town, he said, no, this must not happen to us. Let us put our best boys in the army. That is vision. You may say that, oh, he was selfish in doing that. But till today, he was working for the people. The thing is, if Sardauna or Awolowo had the opportunity to rule Nigeria on a bigger scale, to become president of Nigeria, they would have performed the same way that they performed as regional leaders. That was the opportunity that they had. And they did very well. You go to Sokoto, you go everywhere, you see neem trees. Sardauna brought the seeds for neem trees from India when he went to India. That seed, even in the desert, it grows. Under very harsh conditions, it grows. So what have the current generation of misleaders done for our people? What can they point at? People, they set up, he was talking about Defense Industries Corporation. They set it up the same time with their Brazilian counterparts. The same time with what they have in Singapore. Nigeria was on the same level with Singapore, with Korea, Malaysia, with Malaysia. Western region had television before France. Development. you know, we were on the same level. We were grouped at the same level with them. Today, everybody has left Nigeria behind.
Oh, sure.
During the time of Awolowo and Co, we were on the same level with Brazil and others.
France.
Brazil is generating more than 100,000 megawatts of electricity. We cannot generate
4,000.
Today, we are doing about 3,000. We can't even generate 4,000. We should be ashamed of ourselves. And the current generation of leaders should be ashamed. They should not be criticizing the former leaders because they did their best.
They did their best.
I want to thank you, Wale Adoye. I want to thank you for your in-depth analysis. I want to thank you, Tunde Abaton. Thank you so much for your contributions. And Babajide Otitoju, we do this every day. And that's our offering this week on Journalist Hangout. You can join us next week for an interesting episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11 on DSTV 418, Go TV 45. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube. That's youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I am Ayodele Uzubakun. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.